Hello and welcome to today's video. So the other day I was browsing through my uploaded videos to my Facebook artist page and I came across this live stream from August of 2016 where I make a little shell monster. And I had a lot of fun doing that live stream, but for some reason or another I never got around to doing another one. So I thought it would be fun to revisit that live stream, and when I revisited it myself, it gave me an idea for something new to try here on YouTube. So here's that live stream from August 2016 that aired on Facebook. And after the live stream, I'll let you know what my new big idea is. Hello, and welcome to Andrew Schmidt's Clay Creations and More first live stream. Now, for my first live stream, I thought I would try something I could get done in a reasonable amount of time. So I thought I would start with a shell monster. Now, characters like this take about anywhere from 3 to 4 hours, so I didn't want to sit there and do something like that. Where like a shell monster like this might take half hour, hour and a half, depends on how much detail I put into it. So we're going to start with the shell monster, and to save some time, I went ahead and rinsed off this shell, cleaned it out. Usually they come pretty clean, but every once in a while they'll have something in them. So I want to make sure they're all cleaned out before I put the clay in there and bake it. I've also pre-mixed some colors. This blue pearl mix was something I had left over from a previous character. Lots of times I'll over-mix because I want to make sure I have enough and I don't want to run out when I'm doing a character, especially when it's a unique color. And then I added a little bit more blue to it to give me some darker blue for like spots and stuff. Now again, this is my first live stream, so bear with me. I don't know if the lighting's the best. I don't know if the sound quality is okay. I'll try to respond to the post, but I realize now my iPad's far enough away to get kind of the whole picture that I don't know how well I'll notice those. But I'll try to kind of like, if you see me doing this, that's because I'm trying to read what people are saying. So we'll start with the shell monster. Kind of get a basic shape. So I'll start with the light blue and pearl mixed together. So even though it's already conditioned, I still kind of mix it a little bit to kind of get the shape I want. And for those of you that have worked with clay, polymer clay, I use Primo Sculpey. So those of you that work with clay already know this, but some of you might not be aware. Different colors have a different consistency. I don't know why, I don't know if it's the dyes they use or what, but it has like some will be really soft, some will be really stiff to work with. Seems like if I mix stuff with the pearl, it's definitely a lot softer. For the most part, I like the softer clays, but you have to be really careful because once you make something, you get it how you want it. If you just barely touch it, you mess it up. So basically, I kind of shape it so it can fit down in there. I want to jam it in there as much as I can so I get as much clay in that shell. So that way when it bakes, it's not going to be coming out at all. So this is kind of what I'm going to go for, is I'm going to have him coming out of the shell off to the side a little bit. I like to bring up these little antennas. So kind of like that. Now, once I get to this point, I want to do the sockets for the eyes. Now I use these little glass beads, so I haven't had any issues baking them, so I'll kind of dig out a hole for each eye, and I'll put those in there. The tricky part is, since they're beads, they have a hole in them, so I want to make sure that hole is covered up and concealed so you can't see that when the eye is finished. kind of like Carl. Alright, so there you can kind of get a good look. I just have the sockets dug out for him, or her. I dropped those glass beads in there. It looks like they're lined up okay. I almost think they seem a little too small. Now I did get some bigger glass beads, so I think I'm going to go ahead and get those out and see if I like those in this one. Kind of give them a different look, give them a bigger eye. So I kind of have to get a tool. I usually kind of move the eye around until I get to that hole that's in the bead. This needle. And I kind of grip it and then kind of just pull that out of there. One thing I like about doing the shell monsters and other monsters that I do compared to stuff related to pop culture is I can do whatever I want. There is no right or wrong. I mean, if I'm doing Batman, it has to look like Batman. I've even done a monster Batman, but it still looked like Batman. So, here's the size difference. Those are the eyes I usually use, the beads. So those are the size of them compared to the new ones. Hopefully you can see those okay. So, I don't know if I feel like I need to be talking the whole time. It's kind of weird doing a live stream. You know, if I was doing a YouTube video, I could edit it and add stuff and add music and all that good stuff. But just doing a live stream, I guess I want to keep it interesting for people. And I don't think of always talking when I'm sculpting because I'm normally just down here watching TV or listening to music. And even if I, you know, sometimes I'll FaceTime friends or my daughter, and even then I'm not always talking. So this is a different experience, and I'll, you know, hopefully make it interesting and hopefully learn to adapt. All right, there's the much larger eyes. I really like those. What do you guys think? Thanks, Jesse. I know you have your experience doing your podcast and everything. I'm pretty much, you know, antisocial once I leave work, so I'm not used to doing things like this. And I'll try to keep, you know, stuff like that to the first video, otherwise people are going to get sick here. But, you know, if I'm at the 100th video and I'm like, oh, I'm not used to doing things like this, and they're like, shut up. So now I think I'm going to build up some, just a little bit of eyelids to kind of give him some expression. I don't know if I want him to be happy or sad yet. I don't know, I like making sad monsters, I don't know why. So I'll take a little bit more of the blue pearl, kind of roll it out. Thank you, Tyler. So I get these pieces kind of shaped out. Try to get about the same amount of clay in each little ball that I'll roll out into the eyelids. So I've got 2. I'll do those for the top, and then I'll roll out 2 more. And just get a little something for the lower ones, just so it looks complete. So I kind of, once I get the ball rolled out, kind of roll it into what they call a snake shaped. So that way I can apply that under the eye, and then I'll bring it around. So you can kind of see that first one there. And I think I need a little bit more clay for the second lower one. So I'll get this rolled out into a little snake. So what I'm talking about is this little piece here. So once I have that rolled out, kind of get them on there like that. And if I do these enough and I show the sculpting stuff, you'll realize I very seldom get it right on the first try. It's one of those things where I just keep going until I have it how I want it, or it's, going to be close enough and I've spent too much time on the project. So if you're doing art and you look at other artists and you think, wow, they're amazing, or they get stuff right and they just do it right away, and yeah, that's not the case with me. I don't think it's the case with most artists. I've been doing clay sculptures for 5 years now. I think 5. I've always enjoyed art. Before that I did some 2D art, but it was a very sporadic, like maybe 3 or 4 times a year I would make something. So now I've got his lower eyelids done. So I think that looks pretty good. And like I said, he's going to end up sitting like this. So he's kind of tilting his head as he's coming out. And like I said, the pearl clay is pretty soft. And you'll notice how it's really just pushed into that shell and formed around it. And I'm hoping, that'll be a good look. He's kind of slug-like, and slugs are squishy. So that should work for it. So now I will roll out his top eyelids. Again, they're going to be snake-like, but I usually leave them a little bit thicker in the middle. And that kind of gets me a shape. Now I'm trying to decide if I want to do them sad, happy, or mad. If you're going to do them sad, it kind of have that slant more to the side. So trying to bring this around and focus and yet still stay, you know, entertaining. So, and this is one of the tools I use. This is what I use the most. It's just kind of got a ball tip on it, and this monster's getting away. This is interchangeable. I have several different tips for that, but I'll use this ball. We saw it earlier for digging out the eyes. I also use it for kind of smoothing out sections, and then lots of times I'll add kind of a texture to the monsters too with this. And a little secret, I add textures to a lot of the monsters because it hides flaws. It's really hard to get something to look smooth and perfect, but once you start adding a texture, then it's easy to cover up that stuff that's, you know, that I think doesn't look right. Now, a lot of people will look at something, or my, you know, like my wife or my kids, and I'm like, that looks fine. I'm like, no, it doesn't. But, you know, everybody views things differently, and when you stare at something for, you know, hours, the flaws definitely stand out. And, you know, when you're working on it and you know, something is wrong, that's where your eyes are drawn to. Like I said, you know, I mean, that's the good thing with monsters. They don't have to be a certain way. So I think that's why, you know, they're one of my favorite things to make. And, I mean, I've always loved monsters. So hopefully the sound and the video all look okay for everybody. I don't know what my connection, you know, speed is on this. It doesn't really tell me anything. It just says it's live. And it says it looks like there's 6 people watching, so that's great. I greatly appreciate it. And hopefully we'll get more people to watch the video afterwards. So now I've added the eyelids. I didn't really make him mad or sad. I just kind of put them on there. I'm going to kind of build up a mouth and see what I want to do with that. I did add a little bit of texture to him, and I'll get the rest of his body that way, and then I will add some spots after I do the mouth. So what I'm doing is just lightly pressing this ball tool on here and kind of moving it around to kind of just give him a little bit of texture. Yeah, I think it kind of shows up in there. But especially with the softer clay like this, it's really easy to add that texture to it, but it's also easy to mess it up. So again, if you do sculpting and you use Primo and you get it really soft, if you get something how you want it, just really be careful with it. Another thing is, like I was saying, with guys like this, where they take several hours, I did the legs and the body on this one first, and then I baked that. And what's nice about that is then I can hold on to the body as I sculpt the rest. Now, I probably won't do very many of those on a live stream unless I do a 2-parter, which, I mean, is definitely possible. So I'm going to probably do some of the, I don't want to say quicker sculpts, but, you know, the easier sculpts on a live stream. And then I thought I would do it to kind of show off some other things, like new projects I'm working on. Because I think, you know, with a live stream, I can sit there and pick it up and you can get a really good idea of the size, how things look in 3D. I know a lot of people that follow my page aren't able to see me at shows and stuff, and this will give them hopefully a better look of how things are. So I will finish up a little bit of texturing on this guy. You can see I'm just kind of randomly moving this little ball tool around. But I pretty much have that how I want it. So that's how he is right now. And then I always like to add 1 or 2 teeth to these little monsters. That's actually something that's inspired by Chris Reiniak. If you guys don't know who that is, look him up on Facebook or Instagram. One of my favorite artists of all time, incredible artist. He does a daily sketch, so every day there's something shows up in my newsfeed from him. And then he does sculptures and stuff like that. His bigger pieces are more expensive, but you can get little blind boxes that are about $12. So if you like, little monsters and stuff, I'd highly recommend checking out Chris Reiniak's stuff. So now I'm going to kind of I think I'm going to give him little buck teeth. So what I'm going to do is kind of dig out a spot so I can kind of have an indentation for his mouth. Now I do have a couple of little teeth here. Now these are a little tricky to work with. You can kind of see them there. I pre-bake all my teeth, my horns, my spikes, and what that means is I sculpt them, put them all out on a pan, and bake them. And that way these are hard. I don't have to worry about messing up their shape. It's okay to bake them again once this is, once I put them in the oven with this guy, that's fine. I personally have never had an issue with it. So kind of just gently put those on there. And since that pearl clay is so soft, they rest in there pretty well. So that gives you that, a little good look of that, I should say. I'm going to go ahead and give them a top lip now, so to kind of cover up the top of those teeth. Again, I'll use that same light blue pearl mix. So I don't want it to come out too far. But I want to, give them a little bit of depth with that. And then once I get this on there, I'll use that ball tool to kind of smooth it in place. And add a little bit of texture. So I've got that in there, I'm adding it, or smoothing it. And just about done. So I think I'll add a little more texture, but hopefully you can see that okay. Now for the lips, I think I'm going to take the needle tool and just kind of put some little indentions in there. And it's, the little touches at the end are like the most time consuming. Getting the shape of the body, that was pretty quick. Especially if you have the clay already prepared. Lots of times mixing colors takes a long time. Especially if you want them, if you're blending two colors completely together. I can spend an hour mixing colors easily. Not for sure if I'm digging the look for this guy. I almost like him better sitting up like this. I did have him like this, and it just doesn't look right because he fell over. So kind of twist his little antennae thingies, bring those up a little bit. That looks a lot better than this the other way, the sideways. And I can kind of pull those forward. Let's see how that looks. Any input? Should I make him sad or mad or just leave him how he is? Does he need anything done differently to his mouth? And I am still going to add some spots. I was just kind of deciding on his overall look first before I do that. All right. I'm going to smooth out his mouth just a little bit. It seems like it's protruding a little more than I want it to. Surprised? Well, I can try to make his eyes open as much as possible. Yeah, I don't know if I can really capture the surprise look with him, but yeah, I don't think that really captures it, but that's, you can like kind of have his eyes all the way open. I can't really do the mouth open the way I did it. I don't really know what else to add to him to give him a surprise look. So, alrighty. I almost think he needs bigger teeth, but we got maybe add a brow bone. Haven't done that with these guys. Get him to cooperate. I don't know if I gave myself enough forehead space for him, but we'll definitely give it a try. We're going to roll out a couple more snakes for that. Once I get those kind of shaped, I'll kind of add them to his forehead. Kind of smooth them in place. Almost got him here. I think it definitely adds to him. I don't know if it's giving him the surprise look or not yet, but we'll keep at it. and get all this smoothed in there. Doo-doo. Adding the texture. Kind of straighten out his antennae and see if that helps with the surprise look. Having a little bit of difficulty getting this last piece smoothed in there. You can kind of still see the line from where I applied it. So I am just kind of getting that worked into the rest of the sculpture. Usually, I mean, it works really well to smooth things out with your finger. To blend it, you will leave a little bit of fingerprints, but like I said, you can kind of cover those up if you want to. You don't have to. By adding texture. But some of these areas in here are too small for me to get in there with my fingers. So I don't know if it's a surprise look, but I kind of like it. Thank you, Delaney. Some leftover from one of the ghosts that I did for Jesse. Or spirits, I should say. So sorry, I gotta scoot up to read that. Thank you. Thank you, Rachel. So I think we're gonna go with that look. Now I'm gonna roll out some of the colors for the spots. I'm gonna twist these just a little bit. So again, I've already pre-mixed my colors for the spots. I just add a little bit more blue to the blue pearl mix. Again, I give them darker spots. So what I'll do on these is I'll kind of condition again. I mean, it's pretty soft, but I still like to work with it just a little bit. And then I'll roll that out into a snake. Once I have that rolled out, I will cut off pieces and just kind of apply them for little spots on them. And I try to, keep them inconsistent, and sometimes I'll do larger ones and then kind of spread out with some smaller ones. But lots of times when I'm making these guys, I just kind of go until I think, hey, now that looks done. So get little pieces cut off of my snake that I can roll into balls to add on to the monster for the spots. I'm sure I have way more than I need. I don't know why, but whenever I make monsters and I add spots, or add anything like this guy here, I always seem to add them on their left. I mean, it's, I don't know if it's because I'm right-handed, so I always just add stuff to the right side. I mean, to right side when I'm sculpting the character's left side. It just seems I was looking at my monsters and I've got so many that have stuff on their left. So that's probably what I'll do with this guy. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just thought it's kind of, weird. And when I make dragons, I'll bring their tails around, and it always seems like I bring around to my right. I don't know if any other artists run into the same thing when they're sculpting or painting or drawing or whatever their medium may be. And these little balls that I'm using for the spots, I mean, they kind of stick to your fingers and kind of go all over the place, but and since this clay is so squishy, I am gonna kind of, after I get them rolled out, kind of squish my fingers just a little bit, and then I will hopefully gently add them to the sculpture. And some of them will kind of sit on the top more, but it's like, with this clay being that soft, it kind of goes right in. I'm going to cut off a few for some bigger spots that we can kind of start with on his back. So I'll get those squished out. And apply them to the back. That in there. And another one there. We'll do a few more of the larger ones, and I'll start spreading out with those smaller ones. So I've got those done. My little shell monster. Let's go ahead and I want to do two more larger ones. So I'll cut those off of my mix here. And have those right near the shell back here. I gotta be careful because I'm right at the edge of the shell. I don't want to have that spot go up over the shell. I want to keep it down so it looks like the creature's still coming out of the shell, and it's, this isn't actually sculpted on it. Some of the other tools I use these little, I think they're for nails, little daughter tools. I got those off Amazon. And then one of the other tips I have for my tool is this little rubber flat tip. So, and a lot of times if I'm just going to do a little bit, I don't even bother switching it over to the actual piece. So there's his spots, or her spots. Alright, gotta move closer to read this. Oh, so he's got kind of like, I don't know what those would be called, but yeah, I could do something like that. Can I just have them at the tip of the antennas? I'll do that once I get all these little ones done. It is fun to do the live stream and get input from people and ask opinions, and you get it right there. Normally I would have something done. I'm like, oh, what do you think of this? And it is what it is then. Oh, they look like a flower? Okay. Like those, kind of a flower shape. You know, sometimes when I've done some blobs, I've seen like, you know, one of them looked like it had like a bird shape in it, and it was totally unintentional, but it's kind of like, you know, when you look at clouds and see different shapes. So. Now, is everybody able to hear me okay? I haven't really seen anything otherwise. So, good. Hi, Robin. How are you? The audio is a little spotty. Oh, Jesse. It's fine. Well, that's good. Gonna have to figure out something a little bit different because, like I said, I can barely read the text with my old eyes, so I kind of have to lean forward each time. And I know some people will do their camera right above where they're working. I follow Becca Doodles. If any of you guys follow her, I know some of you do, and she does some great live streams with her stuff. And the way she's got it set up is you can, you know, look right down on where she's working, and it works great. I know she's still able to see the comments, so I don't know if she's got something here and she can see it, or if she's got it on another device. I'll have to message her, or maybe she'll comment on this if she sees it. And I thought about, you know, if I had my laptop set up in the corner, I could see the comments better. And I am kind of going out a little more than I normally do on these guys. Since I'm just talking and kind of squishing these spots in there. So I think that looks good. I'm gonna roll some more out and keep at adding spots to them. So. That snake still rolled out for the darker blue. So I'll just section off some little pieces of clay that I can roll out into the spots again. And I'll probably, you know, I'll cover the back and then I'll bring them around a little bit to the front, but I'll leave the middle open maybe a little bit more. And then Delaney was saying to add some balls at the top of his antennae to of the spot color. And so then I don't know if I should bring the spot color up with it, you know, with little dots to kind of even that transition, I guess. So. We'll get this in here. All right. Jesse's asking, so if the color stays true, yes and no, and I know that's a terrible answer. I'll have some colors that stay almost the same, and then one time I was working on this big Godzilla, and I added some brown and some black to darken up the green. And it wasn't too dark, but then when I baked it, I mean, it went several shades darker. And it was fine, I mean, because, you know, it was just kind of a piece I was messing around with, and I didn't need it to match a certain color. So, I mean, I think something like this will stay pretty much the same. That's, if you look at the spirit guy I made for you, you know, for your wife, Jesse, this is the same blue pearl. Kind of, I know there's, you know, how well the lighting is on it, but I don't think it changed too much on him. Keep looking at this guy, and I think he needs bigger teeth. I don't know if I have any bigger teeth. I am running low on some of the pre-baked pieces I have, so I'll need to spend a day doing that. Robin, I've been working with clay consistently for 5 years. I remember 15 years ago or so, and that's just a guess, I made like 2 Jawas and a panda or something, and I'm like, oh, I'll get some clay and I'm gonna make stuff, and so I made a couple things, and then I didn't ever mess with it again, or not until now. My sister used to do a lot of stuff with Sculpey. I think she used Fimo, and so I was always inspired by what she did, but I didn't have enough motivation until I was older, and it's just kind of one of those things. That's how I was. So now I work on this stuff a few times a week. Now that conventions have kind of slowed down a little bit, I don't have anything for a few months. I'm trying not to spend as much time on sculpting, and not because I don't enjoy it. I just have other hobbies, and so I kind of like to have more variety. And plus, with I collect comics and video games and stuff, and I'm not spending any time enjoying that stuff. So I'm trying to limit my sculpting and needle felt to Sunday and Monday. And I have all day Sunday off, and I only work a few hours on Monday usually, so I have plenty of time on both those days that I should be able to build up my inventory for future shows. And then when it gets closer, I'll, do the whole 24/7 thing of just making stuff nonstop, or hopefully. But I definitely like working with multiple different mediums, like doing the needle felt, because then if I don't feel like doing clay, but I still feel like making something, it gives me an alternative of something to do. I would like to do some more 2D art, not necessarily to try to sell it, but something that if I can get a little bit better at that, I can kind of do that to promote my stuff, or like if I wanted to do like t-shirt designs or something, I could draw my characters and put them on there. But I don't know if that'll happen, if I'll get to that point of working with that many different things. So I've got a lot of these spots on here. I'm bringing them up. Give you guys a look at him. So as you can see, from the beginning, it's pretty quick to get the shape. It's extra details that take a lot of time. And for the most part, the shell monsters don't take too long comparatively, to full character figurines and stuff. I'm going back in with this tool on some of these spots I'm putting here because I can't get my fingers in there. So I've got that much done. I'm going to get a few more pieces cut off of this little snake to do the rest of the spots. And then I will try to add the little balls at the top. Get these shaped in there, we'll kind of bring those up. Hi Angie, how's it going? So, I try to have fun all the time. It doesn't always happen. Most of the time I have fun when I'm making stuff. Sometimes I overestimate my abilities. And I get a reality check, and then I have not had as much fun. But today I'm just doing a shell monster, so all is good. Just getting these last few spots worked in. This one I'm not happy with, but got it a little bit too close, but I think I can kind of even it. I like to have a little bit of space between the spots and I'll have them running together. We'll tell Reese hi. So there's a look of the current progress. Just gonna finish these up. Just want a few more on the back of that one. And then I think we'll be set on the spots on the antennae. going to shorten these up a little bit if I'm going to add a ball on them, because I don't know if they'll support the weight as thin as they are. Alright, so now we're going to see, we can do what Delaney requested and shape some little balls to put on top there. One of the other tools I use has kind of this cone shape at the top. So what I'm going to do is I've got the balls made, and I'm going to do a little bit of an indentation in that to kind of give it a way to rest down on there. And it will probably droop a little bit, and I think that'll be fine. See if we can get it in there. And we've got the other one. So there's kind of a look of how he's at right now. Kind of bring that up a little bit. I'm going to do a few more spots. I want to have them come down the front of it. So, got these shaped out. Get those pressed into place. This guy might have the most spots out of a shell monster I've done. Something that's nice about doing the shell monsters is it gives me something to hold on to while I sculpt them. And that's one of those things that's always tricky. Lots of times I'll put them on like an index card and even lift them up a little bit. Sometimes put them on a jar, and then that way I can kind of work with it when it's higher up. But this, these are really nice because I can just hold on to them. Because of that extra weight with those balls, I am going to pull them forward a little bit. It doesn't give as much of a surprise look, but I think it looks good. The only thing I want to do, I'm going to look to see if I can replace his teeth. They seem too small. But that's, could be just me. So, I've got this container. I'm not going to be able to really open it and show it too well, but I don't want everything falling out. This is where I keep all my beads, chains, pre-baked pieces that I have, like eyeballs, horn spikes. I have some stuff from when I was doing Ewoks. I have like kind of partial weapons. I have like a little bow and arrow. I also have shapes for glasses. I have some like this pig nose. That was going to be for, probably still will be for some kind of needle felt monster. I have some extra Ewok faces because I made more faces than I made Ewoks. Some little. This says Twinkle Twinkle is what it's called. It's a primo color, and I use it for the starry-eyed monsters when I do them. I have some wings. It's going to make some little Cthulhus, but I haven't done them yet. So, a lot of ideas in my head, so I'm going to look to see if I can find something I can use for a bigger tooth. And if I just find one that's bigger, I still think that would look better. Found this huge tooth. That won't work. I don't know if this would be better or not. This probably isn't good television. I'm looking around for a tooth. Let's see. Not really finding what I want. I might just leave alone. I think we'll just leave them as is. Let me get them set up a little bit. Get this stuff put away. Next time I sculpt, I'll make some more teeth. Set that down there. And I'll probably adjust these just a little bit when I put them in the oven, because right before I put them in, I can get them exactly how I want. So there you go, guys. That's a shell monster I made today. I have no idea how long it took. I don't have a clock down in my art area. And since I'm in live streaming, I don't have a clock on my iPad. But that's where we're at. Does anybody have any questions, comments, or anything before I log off? Anybody? You? Hello, Internet. Over an hour? Man. Need to get faster. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Robin. Oh, Jesse, that's too hard to read this far away. I actually sketched out my one-eyed blobs when I first started doing them. As you know, I was at a craft show, and it was outdoors, and I kept getting kids coming up to my table that wanted stuff, and their parents didn't want to buy them. I was doing the bears a lot, and they didn't want to buy them a $12 bear. And I thought, well, what could I come up with that I could sell to kids? And so I was just kind of drawing out these little blob monsters. And so I did those. I sketched those out. I've tried to sketch out some of the figurines I've been trying. I've tried different pop culture figurines, so I've kind of sketched those out some. The monsters, not so much. The other thing I sketched out was the bears when I first started them. So usually I'll sketch out the initial design of something I do, like if I'm doing bears or I'm doing the blobs and so on. I have glasses. I just don't have them in here, and they're for reading, so like if I get closer, but my problem is I had to keep my iPad so far away to get kind of a overall view of the table and sculpting and everything, and I kind of wanted to do something that was more personal, more face-to-face, at least for the first one, and I think I'll try to do, an overhead one when I'm doing another sculpture. And then, like I said, I'll do some that might be, like a 5-minute live stream showing off a new sculpture. Because, just video shows things a lot better than photographs. But I can do the photographs to show kind of more high resolution video, pictures of them. So, alright guys, well thank you so much for tuning in. I will announce on Facebook when I do a live stream again. Sunday afternoons work really well for me, and I'm not home every Sunday, so I'll kind of decide during the week if I'm going to do it, if I have a subject I want to share, and kind of go from there. If I have something I get done over the weekend, I might do a live stream late afternoon or something just to show off the piece or whatever. Yeah, if people are interested in sculpting with me, that would be great. There are also other options. I can do they have like Google Hangouts or some other video chats. Like I know a friend of mine, Fred, he'll do like an artist jam where multiple people can be in the same video chat room, and that way you can kind of see what people are working on. So we might do something different if people wanted to do kind of a sculpt along type thing or a tutorial as they do it. But if they want to do it, where I can teach them a project and this is just more instructional without showing their work, yeah, I could definitely do that this way. And I could say, hey, I had an idea before to do a tutorial class, like, do you want to build a snowman class? And, you can make an Olaf ornament or something like that. And that's something, if the interest is there, I could definitely do a few months before Christmas or something. And then you can pick out 3 or 4 colors and kind of go that way. So, alright guys, thanks for tuning in. I'll announce the next live stream when I have an idea when I'm doing it. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Bye. Alright, well I hope you enjoyed my first and only Facebook live stream. Here's a better look at the shell monster that was created during that video. I know I didn't always have the best, or it wasn't the best camera angle to see the sculpture, so I thought this picture would really help show off what the finished creature looked like. Now, I did say this gave me a new idea. It's actually an old idea, but it's kind of, revisit. I have so many ideas in my head and only so much time, and I'm sure everybody is like that, especially if you do a lot of creations. You just, you have all these ideas, and you're just like, I want to do this, and this, and we can't do them all, but you got to kind of reorganize and prioritize. So what I want to do is a monthly live stream, and it's a Let's Make a Monster live stream. And the first one will be on Sunday, February 23rd at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. And what I want to do is create an original monster based on viewer feedback. And I'm not saying this is my idea. I know other YouTubers have done similar things to that. But I wanted to put my own spin on it. I want it to be, my creation with your guys' help. I thought this would be a fun way. I like to interact with you guys. I love my viewers. I love the comments. And so I thought it'd be fun that, you guys help make the monster. Now, that is my planned first live stream. But I figured I better test, do a test live stream to make sure, everything goes as planned or as much as we can. So you're going to randomly see a test live stream come up. And if you want to watch that, and you want to see when that is too, be sure to subscribe, make sure you're subscribed to my channel if you aren't already subscribed, and ring that little notification bell, and that should tell you when I'm live. And if you are tuned in for that first live stream, let me know like how the audio quality is, how the video quality is, if you like the camera angle, all that good stuff. I'm hoping I can live stream with my iPad and then have either my phone or my iPad mini next to me so I can, read comments and stuff like that. But that's what I'll be testing in that first video. So, also, before my first live stream on the 23rd, so maybe like the Monday before that, I will have a regular YouTube video where I create some monster parts. So, in the Facebook live stream, I made those teeth ahead of time and then used them in the video. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make some eyes, some teeth, horns, claws, whatever I can think of that might be a good accessory for the monsters in the live stream. And I'll make a bunch, so I can say, do you want this guy to have green claws, yellow claws, or blue claws? That way there's some choices there instead of it's just whatever I have made up. But I will do a regular YouTube video of that, and that way those are pre-baked and I can add them to the sculpture without distorting. I'm kind of hoping I can sculpt the monster in about an hour, kind of like the shell monster. The first one won't be another shell monster, but I might do a shell monster in the future on it. But I'm going to try to do one a month. I don't have a certain Sunday, just kind of see when it works with my schedule. I've got, some conventions coming up and some other things going on. So there should be at least one Sunday a month that I'm free. I'm going to try to shoot for that 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. So hopefully, my viewers in the U.S., it works for them. And I know I've got some overseas viewers, and hopefully it's not either too late or too early for them. And if it doesn't work for you, and you're saying, you want to say like, hey, can you try it at this time, leave that in the comments below, and I will definitely try to accommodate as many people as I can. Maybe have one at 2 and one at 10. Different months, of course, not on the same day. So anyway, enough of me rambling. If you have any questions about my live stream or any comments, ideas, whatever, please leave them in the comments down below. And in the meantime, remember, never stop creating. Bye.